The St. Petersburg Museum of History, located on the pier approach, is expanding and getting revamped just in time for its 100th birthday, which is going to be next year, and the opening of the pier. Here today with all the exciting details is Executive Director Rui Farias. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. Excited to have you here. Excited to help spread the word that yes, you guys are open.
We are open. It's been challenging with the pier construction, but we are definitely open for business.
Not only just open, too. One of the exhibits you have right now is actually so popular, from what I understand. You actually are expanding. You're making sure that it's staying a couple weeks longer.
We are. It was supposed to actually close. The exhibit's called The Forgotten War. It's a photography exhibit about the Korean War. And it was supposed to close this week, but we've decided to keep it another month because it's been incredibly popular.
Yeah. Well, and talk about when it first opened. This actually opened in Korea, correct?
It did. It's owned by a woman by the name of Seema Rubin from New York, who owns a number of Pulitzer Prize winning photography exhibits. She actually worked with Max Desfor, the photographer, before he passed away, and put together this exhibit. It opened in Seoul to 250,000 people. 250,000
people. So now it's right here in the Bay Area.
It's the only time we'll be in Florida.
So talk about what you brought here this morning.
This is a Browning automatic rifle. It was a weapon that was carried by soldiers in World War II and Korea. A lot of the weaponry that we used in Korea was basically surplus World War II because we weren't ready for that war. Yeah. So whether it was everything from the helmets and the uniforms to the rifling, that type of thing was still World War II issue weaponry. So this was a pretty powerful weapon. That was a shoulder weapon, so the soldiers actually carried it.
And this is, I mean, I'm going to attempt to, this thing you say is at least 50 pounds.
Well, it's pretty heavy.
And
it doesn't have any of the ammunition clips or anything in it like that. So they were pretty heavy, powerful weapons.
Talk about the title of this exhibit. My husband's grandfather fought in the Korean War, and it's called The Forgotten War. Why is that, do you think? Why is it important to, for exhibits like this to continue?
It's because, there were, our history is based on, obviously, our things that happened during our country's history. And if you look at World War II and the Greatest Generation, that was the war that basically, it was the good war, for lack of better terms, and the Americans were fighting to save the world for democracy. And then, sandwiched in between World War II and Vietnam was Korea. And the Korean War was fought to stop the spread of communism. So there's an image there of it's called. This is the actual Pulitzer Prize winning photography.
What is that of there?
It's people escaping the advance of the communists. Okay. And this is a general looking over the graves of the American soldiers. And that's actually Max Desfor. And he's got a really cool story because he was, there's an American soldier comforting a Korean child.
Go back to the photographer that you were saying there.
Max Desfor actually was a World War II combat photographer. And when the war was over, he was working for the Associated Press, and they were offering him the opportunity to go to Florida and retire in Florida.
I was just going to ask you if there was much, Florida connections.
Absolutely. And he could have lived the rest of his life in Florida shooting tourism type photographs. And when the Korean War broke out, when President Truman decided to send troops to stop the advancement of the North Koreans, Max said no, he didn't want to go to Florida, he wanted to go to Korea where the action was. And his editor actually told him that, well, it's only going to be a 2-week assignment because this is going to be a quick war. And it lasted over 2 years.
Well, and I think, for journalists too, as important as the jobs are of the soldiers and the men that are there, but I think to actually document this, for generations to come is just as important, is it not?
Absolutely. And some of the photographs on the exhibit show that. And it's not so much, this isn't a combat photography exhibit. Okay. It's more of the humanity of the American soldiers and the plight of the Korean people. The photograph that showed the mass exodus over the bridge that won the Pulitzer Prize in 1951. It showed the desperation in a lot of these people that were trying to escape the advance of the communists to the Korean Peninsula.
Well, again, the exhibit is now going to be open for a couple more weeks, so you have a month left to see this. And then the upcoming exhibit, if you can just briefly say what that is.
Sure, it's the allure of Florida fishing. Basically, it's the history of fishing in Florida.
Okay.
That's what we've been known for hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're building a pretty cool exhibit to
again, the museum is open, going to be celebrating 100 years next year when the renovation and expansions are complete. We look forward to having you back. We'll have lots more to dig in there as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for having me.